Hey guys, welcome back. Today we have Road to One Bitcoin, otherwise known as TC. He's coming onto the channel to talk about his journey to trying to get to one Bitcoin. How's it going, bro?
Very good, thank you. Thanks for having me, and thanks for waking up so early with the time differences. I'm just about to go to bed, and you've just woken up at 5 a.m., so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I love talking to people across the country, so it's pretty cool. But unfortunately, it usually means I'm getting up at these crazy hours. So I'll let you do most of the talking today, but we'll see how we go.
Rather you than me.
Yeah. So you've probably been asked this a few times, but what does it look like at the start of your journey? You know, you're in this traditional finance, maybe you're just saving in that fiat currency where you are, and then all of a sudden Bitcoin comes along, completely changes the history of, I guess, the first part of your life. Like, how does that start up?
Um, well, I think for the longest time I had a bit of an aversion to, the traditional way of saving for the future. In the UK, I don't know how it is where you are, but we're told, you go to work, you pay into your pension plan, and then after 40 years or 50 years of working, then you will have a nice little pension plan, and then you just retire and then you die and that's it. But I'd never really had that much faith in that because my mum did that whole thing and she got pretty burned with the pension system in the UK. In fact, there was a bit of a scandal in the UK because a certain age group of women at the time, they were meant to take their pensions when they were 60, and then it got pushed back to 62, so she had to keep working, and then it got pushed back to 64, and eventually it got pushed back to 66, so she was constantly 1 year out from getting it each time. And as you can imagine, if somebody's been told that their whole life they're going to pay into this pension, and then by the time you're 60 you're going to get that and you can retire, you can stop working, and then actually what happened was she had to then continue working for another 6 years to get it. It was almost like they were dangling the carrot in front of her. I was about 19 or 20 at the time when that happened, and I remember that was like, I didn't really understand money at the time, but it was super stressful for her because, that was her money, and some company was saying, no, you can't have it. So I think for the longest time, I didn't have any faith in saving for my future at all, really. I think things were a little bit bleak, and I just didn't pay into a pension. I didn't even really think about it because I don't know, I wasn't planning at all, to be honest. And then in my early 20s as well, I kind of started delving down the rabbit hole of like, the fiat system and the Federal Reserve and how money's created and usury and that kind of stuff. And I kind of realized that money is just printed out of thin air, and there's nothing we can do about it. Like, when a central bank decides to print more cash, all of the savings that I have been saving in the bank just gets devalued, and there's nothing I can do about it. I've got no vote in that. I've got no say in that at all. I've just been covertly taxed there. I've just been covertly robbed of my value. The number might stay the same in the bank, but the value of it, the purchasing power of it's just gone down. So for the longest time I was just like pretty blackpilled, really, and pretty nihilistic throughout my 20s. And I thought, shit, the whole system's rigged against us. There is no way out. And then during lockdown I thought, the shit was going to hit the fan pretty much because they closed all of the small businesses down. Or they closed everything down, actually. And then just started printing money out of thin air. So I thought, this has got to be it. So I just, moved into the middle of nowhere, countryside, put all of the cash that I did have into silver bullion, and then I did a few other kind of spurious moves as well, like, bought myself a rifle and, got solar panels and that kind of stuff. I just thought that the world was going to end, kind of thing. And that just seemed to be the best option at the time. But then, things kind of came slowly back to normal. But then it was only really around last year that I discovered Bitcoin. And when I discovered what Bitcoin actually was, that it was the way I see it is it's the solution to the fiat system, because you can't just print more Bitcoin out of thin air. There isn't an infinite printing press. It's completely finite. There isn't a central, power that can just decide at will to say, no, you're not going to get that until you're 66 now. All of these issues that I had with the current system, Bitcoin was finding solutions for. And the more I looked into it, the more it made sense. Whereas before, the more I looked into some things, like, how fiat money is created, the less it made sense. And things just kind of fell apart the more you looked into it. Whereas with Bitcoin, it made more sense and more sense. And then it's only really been less than a year where I'm fully sold in with what Bitcoin actually is now. And finally, to go back to your question, how has that changed my saving habits? I've actually got enthusiasm to save now, and I'm finding that I've got motivation and focus, and just kind of I'm happy to work more, save more in Bitcoin, because I know for a fact that I'm not just that my value that I'm working hard for isn't just gonna be devalued and inflated away out of thin air. So for me, finding Bitcoin has just given me that passion and motivation to actually save, and it's made me hopeful for the future again. Because why I'm stacking is I want a long-term pension plan. I'm not looking to get rich quick or anything. I want a pension for when I take it when I'm 60 odd, in 30 odd years. I want that money to be there, and I don't have faith that if I save in pounds, even if I save loads, I don't think it's either going to potentially be there, or if we have another lockdown thing, there might be restrictions in place where they say, well, you can have it, but you've got to do X, Y, and Z, which we saw during lockdown, or it would have just been inflated away into nothingness. So for me, Bitcoin is now my long-term pension plan. There we go.
Yeah, no, man, it's so similar over here. Like, I listened to your Bitcoin Bram conversation and just talking about your mum's story and everything, and I just thought it was like inspiring in some sense to this young generation where it's like, yo, pension and all that, it's a scam. Like, you can't fall for this, because the previous generation has essentially, I guess, fallen for this. And it's not their fault, it's just the system they're brought up in. But my dad was very similar. He was told, he started being a policeman around 17, 18. And they came in and had a conversation talking about, for us, it's called super, which is basically your retirement fund, pension, that whole thing. And they said, you can either allocate 5% of your payslip every week or 10%, up to you. But basically, if you do 10%, then you're putting off the now to enjoy the later, but it might mean that you have more of a retirement. So a lot of the guys, they just take the lowest percentage possible, because they're just like, I want to live in the now, like I don't want to, set my, I won't be able to get it till I'm six. At the time, it was probably 62, 63. And my dad decided, you know what, I'm actually going to top it up as much as I can every week, because I know I'll spend it. Otherwise, I might as well just try and get this retirement fund built up. And in some sense, it has worked. I think that dad's like got a decent retirement fund and things, but the problem is it gets pushed out further and further away. So like, it used to be maybe 62, 63. It's now up to 67. And it's like, every year they add, he's just like literally just getting further and further away. And this was his whole idea, was counting on this. Like, they're all counting on their retirement fund, get to that age, sit back, relax. And suddenly they're still working till 67, 68. And I'm hearing some numbers where across the world, it's getting closer to 70. And it's like, imagine when we reach 70 across the world. It's like, how many people are still fit and healthy at 70? I wouldn't say many. So yeah, it's just really sad, because dad was told this is basically the best strategy, and the person telling him was probably believing it too. Like, it's not necessarily that everyone's got this sense of evil about him. It's more the bigger powers. And yeah, like, it's just, he still can't access it, and he's going into his 60s, and he's just thinking, and then they go, oh, well, if you want to access it early or take it out all right now, then the tax is like 50%. So it's like, obviously
Yeah.
no one's going to do that. So they're forcing people to just wait, and then they finally get it. And I was like, oh, so Dad, are you just going to get access to all this money? And he's like, well, if I want to take it all out, I have to be taxed. And I'm like, but you got to 67 or whatever. And he's like, well, what they want you to do is take out, $1,000 a week or $2,000 a week, and you're only allowed to slowly start to bleed it. But it's in that time that they can inflate the currency away. Like, that's how I see it. They're buying themselves time to weaken the currency so they don't have to take a massive hit when all these boomers cash out at once and could potentially collapse the economy because it's all illusionary dollars. Like, imagine every boomer goes to the bank and goes, I want that 4 million I kept away. Can I have it now? They're like, hell no. Like,
It's not there, yeah.
it's like, I'm just going to print it away. So then when you do get the 4 million, maybe you see 4 million in your bank, it's only worth 1 million. So
Exactly.
it's just, it's so sad to watch that whole thing unfold. And in some sense, it's a blessing for me because it woke me up to realizing, hey, don't be topping up your super or your retirement fund as much as possible, because it matters right now what money you can make. So then you can put it in Bitcoin, not only to enjoy for the future, but to enjoy the short term as well. Like 5-10 years is a lot better than waiting 45 years to have access to your money. Bitcoin, you can have access to it now, but you can choose to put it off for later. So I love that idea as Bitcoin, as retirement, as inheritance, as money, as savings. It ticks off so many boxes that I didn't have available to me before. And all of a sudden it's like, so Joey, what's your inheritance plan for when I'm just like, Bitcoin. And it's like, what's your savings? Like, what's your saving strategy? Bitcoin. It's like,
Bitcoin, exactly.
as Bitcoin moves, I don't think it's necessarily money yet in some sense. Well, it's money, but it's not necessarily a medium of exchange because it's not globally accepted for that. But it will head towards there as well. So I don't think there's any problem with it just being a store of value for now because it's so significant. It ticks off all these boxes. And I love when like Michael Saylor says things like, how big can its market cap go? Well, it's like, well, there's $1 quadrillion worth of things. And if Bitcoin can eat even into 4% of that or 5% of that, it suddenly goes to, 10 trillion, 20 trillion, like 30 trillion. It's like, it being $2 trillion right now is absolutely crazy. So I just wanted to ask you on the back of that, do you have sort of a short-term plan when it comes to Bitcoin and then a long-term, or are you just going to try and hustle to one Bitcoin, or is there going to be a little bit of, I'm going to live off a little bit now? Like,
No, I'm not planning on selling any, let's put it that way. But my long-term plan, is basically just to save as much as I possibly can, because the aim of the game for me, as I said, is a long-term pension plan. So I'm not looking to get to one Bitcoin and then sell it and go to Vegas kind of thing. It's kind of, I'm kind of just slowly transferring my savings and, my kind of mindset over from the traditional fiat system into the Bitcoin system. So in terms of time frame, I'm not really, I'm just kind of playing it by ear, to be honest. My short-term goal for this year was to get to 0.1. And then who knows really, because, we just hit all-time highs. So it's harder to stack. And some people are saying, well, next year or the year after it's going to crash again. And to be honest, I don't know enough to even predict. So I'm just kind of just chipping away at it slowly. And at the minute I'm doing like the side hustles and I'm trying to sell some bits of old like rubbish around the house and that kind of stuff. And whilst living a little bit, more frugally and beneath my means kind of thing, just to actually save more. Because going back to your previous question, when I thought that things were bleak and I had nothing to save for, I was just like, well, forget it, who cares, I'm whatever, there's, by the time I'm 70 there's going to be no pensions anyway, so things were just a bit like bleak and a bit black pilled. Now I've got this something to actually save for that I've got faith in. Living beneath my means and saying no to the the Starbucks or no to the beer or that kind of stuff, that's actually enjoyable and fun. So short-term goal is 0.1 for this year, but I'm also not going so drastically and so hard that I get wrecked or I get stressed out. Some people have said, well, to get to 1 Bitcoin, you need to start taking loans out, and then take out a big bank loan, buy as much as you can now, and then start paying off that loan and that kind of stuff. And I have been thinking about it, but for me, that sounds so stressful. I don't want to overly stress myself out with it. Let's put it that way. I don't like risk anyway. At the best of times, I'm not a massive fan of like even going on roller coasters or like fairground rides. So like taking out a massive interest, based loan that I'm then locked in, and if I can't pay that off for whatever reason, I break my leg or I need to buy a new car, that the bank's going to come knocking on my door. That to me sounds overly stressful. So those kind of shortcuts I could do, but I'm doing it a bit more within my means and just a bit more. I'm just being chill with it, really. But I've got the goal. I'm focused on it, and I'm just steadily. It's a marathon. I know for a fact it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Getting to 1 Bitcoin, it will probably take many years. I'm not unaware that it's going to be a long-term goal. And even when I hit 1, I'm just going to continue saving in Bitcoin anyway, as much as I can. So that's that.
Yeah, I think for me, as soon as I shifted from being like, it's a win either way when it goes up or down, has helped me. So like when it goes up, I see my purchasing power go up and I feel like, holy moly, I suddenly have access to all this capital I never had before. And then when it goes down, it's like I can buy way more than I could last week. So it's like you can't really lose, because for me, it's like when I receive my pay slip and let's say I swap majority of it into Bitcoin, and if I was going to do the Satoshi conversion rate, I'm getting less and less and less as its price runs up. And so it actually means my time's worth less because it's actually real value when it comes to Bitcoin. And then when its price goes down, I go from say earning, let's say it's 1 million Satoshis a week at a decent job when Bitcoin's price was so cheap. It then makes it affordable. I can buy more and more and more. It means my time's worth more because I'm getting more real value. And then its price can run up, and it's like I can set my own wage in some sense, because I love what Michael Saylor says. You might be a kid that's on, $13 at McDonald's right now. But if you can put off spending that $13 and you put it in Bitcoin first, wait for it to do, let's just say a 10x over 5-10 years, whatever it may be, then you're technically on 130 now, because you've literally put it away to use later, and you've set your own wage, because its real value is just determined by how much Bitcoin it actually is. And then as long as that conversion rate, technically your hourly rate's pretty good if you're saving in Bitcoin. So I love that idea of set your own wage. You can't win or you can't lose when it comes to going up or down, because there's pros to both. But yeah, I just say advice wise, if there is some sort of bear market, all that means is stack harder, because now your time and energy is worth more because you can get more Bitcoin. So I think the fiat dollars and everything is just the exchange rate. Like, to me, that's all melting away, because once it figures it out, people might not even want to accept fiat for Bitcoin. Like, in my head, I'm never going to accept someone coming to me and going, I'll give you hundreds of thousands for your Bitcoin. Like, if they did it right now, I would, because then I would be able to buy more Bitcoin, because that's a lot of money. But like later on, it might take a 10-acre farm or something for me to accept their transaction. Like, hey, I've got all this scarce land, you've got Bitcoin, I need the Bitcoin, let's do a trade. I will probably consider that a lot more than someone that comes to me, here's this paper money, I want your, hard asset that's with a limited supply. And it's like, that's where we're headed. I think the fiat system will be left behind in that sense, because it will have to be something I truly want, and go back to almost like cavemen trade. It's just like, give me your land and I'll give you Bitcoin, but in a digital world.
Yeah, things will return to what their true value is. This is, I think Saylor might have said it as well, where at the minute things like real estate are so inflated because people are just storing their wealth in real estate because they're looking for places to store, like super rich people are they don't just have their money in the bank, they buy, Picassos and real estate and this kind of stuff. So the actual price tag on those things, the prime real estate, is so hyperinflated. Well, not hyperinflated, but it's so, higher than it should be, because people just want to store their cash in there. But if they have a better asset to store their wealth in, like Bitcoin, then those prices are just going to return to their actual value, and things are just going to be valued in. It's going to become a lot more normal, a lot more real, as you say. Like, why would I trade some paper, and it is literally just like monopoly paper, for this real asset? I want a farm, and the farm will be worth. So yeah, I hope that things move forward in that direction, and I can see Bitcoin changing the world in that way, and I hope it does.
Yeah, I think it will move pretty quick. So you started this journey. I love that as soon as you post one video, boom, like 16,000 or 20,000 views or whatever it ended up being. And that, like, I watched that video straight away when it posted, and I was like, people are just resonating with you, because it's like a young person. It's not just a Michael Saylor who can take on billions of dollars of debt. A young person is going, hey, even with its price rising, even with all-time highs, I'm going for it. I'm going for one Bitcoin. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you get to one Bitcoin. It's just like, that's the holy grail. But even if you fall short and end up with zero point 0.1 Bitcoin for the rest of your life, but Bitcoin goes to 50 million, 60 million a coin, like, obviously it doesn't really matter. But I just love that, there's young people now like me, like you, that are actually starting this journey now, and people are constantly in our ears saying it's too late, you've missed the boat, you've missed the boat.
For sure.
And I'm just thinking,
For sure.
zoom out 5-10 years, you missed the boat. It's just like,
Yeah.
to me, when they talk about global adoption, 4%, if it goes anything like internet, which is 66%, and it's like internet money, so it's tethered to internet, if it even gets close to that, like, we've barely even started. And so
Yeah, I agree.
even its market cap, I just find people are like, oh, it's only a $2 trillion market cap. I'm like, look at Apple, 3 trillion. Every single person I know has an iPhone in their pocket. So that's capped. It's not going anywhere. It's maxed out. Everyone has it. It can't do any more global adoption. It's done. It's like, it's going to stay around that or go up with how much they print. But to me, it's hit a ceiling. So why would you invest in Apple? It's like, it's done. Bitcoin, I was one of the first ones to go, I'm all in Bitcoin. I started orange pilling family and friends and slowly building a little thing. But when I still go out to the world, I realize, like 99% of the people out there don't even know what it is, don't want to hold it,
Yeah.
don't want anything to do with it. And it's still 2 trillion. Like, it just passed Amazon, and Amazon, everyone uses. So it's like, imagine when everyone's using Bitcoin, like, that's not a $2 trillion asset. That might be 20 trillion.
Yeah.
It's like, in my head, if it did a 10x in less than the next, like, 5 to 10 years, I would not be surprised. Genuinely, I would just be like, yeah, as it should be. Like, come on. And it's just like, that's crazy to me. And even like silver was like a store of value for, potentially thousands of years. And it just passed silver, and it did that in 16 years. It's like, do people not understand it? It is just not only replacing stores of value, but it's absolutely wrecking stocks. Like, it's absolutely wrecking the S&P 500. Like, because I have guys at work that are like, why don't you just invest in the S&P? It's so much safer. And I was like, they have no idea how much money is being printed. They don't know. Like, COVID hits, stock market absolutely crashes, and it's like overnight it bounces back to all-time highs. Where did that capital come from? Because it wasn't retail. It was, we better prop up this market again because the US is not looking good. Boom, printed. And then what happens now? We all have to pay for it. So I just think, like, that whole system, thinking that Apple is worth 3 trillion, like 150x its earnings, is just an illusion. It's absolute rubbish. Like, it's just like Bitcoin, it fixes money. That's a bigger market than having a product in your phone. Like, I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it will pass the entire Magnificent Seven and then all we will have is gold this cycle? Or do you just think this is a long-term play? It really doesn't matter.
I have heard people, like Saylor, say eventually Bitcoin would just demonetize every other asset because it's the hardest, most pristine, best asset to ever exist, that humanity's ever seen. So why would humanity flock to a weaker currency when there's a harder, more sound money out there? And that does make sense to me. Um, and with the whole, fiat system and the stocks and shares and stuff, to me that just seems like such a fake system. It's like a house of cards, as you said. COVID hit, everything closed down, stock market tanked, and then they just printed cash, and then back to all time highs again. Well, that's completely fake. It's like a fugazi, house of cards. It's an illusion. It's not real. So to me, that has to just end at some point anyway, because it's literally not even got any foundation in reality or any foundation in anything that's true. It's literally a house of cards. It's like that little dude in Wizard of Oz behind the whatever. Like, it's literally that. So that can't possibly. It hasn't got any kind of long term legs, I don't think, because it's fake. You can't just say, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to write on this paper $1 trillion. There you go. There's $1 trillion." It's all just backed by nothing. So I think eventually that has to go, and I think more and more people will flock to Bitcoin. But I think I'm not sure what the changeover from that kind of old system to a Bitcoin system would look like. Whether it'll be like an instant crash, or whether it'll be like a slow kind of one fades out while the other kind of gains power, or what, I've got no idea. I'm interested to see it, but I've got no idea whether the dudes that actually run the banks and that kind of stuff will go down without a fight. I don't know, but I'm intrigued to see how it plays out. But even world leaders now, like Putin and whatnot, are saying, well, you can't stop Bitcoin. China's tried to ban it 15, 16 times. They haven't been able to ban it. Like, you can't stop it, because it's completely decentralized across 20,000 plus nodes. So you can't possibly take all of those down at once across a global network. It's, as you said, it's native to the internet. So it's not like, I could hold Bitcoin in my mind. I could walk through an airport, I could fly to Australia, and I don't have anything that can possibly be confiscated from me. I don't have to travel with anything. I could just have access to it in my mind. So it's a completely transcendent idea that I don't think can possibly be banned by these centralized bankers. They've almost got to just try and get on board and adopt it, or they're just gonna, their house of cards is gonna fall down. But at the same time, what do you think? Are they gonna adopt it? Because with Bitcoin, you can't print more cash. That's their whole aim of the game. They like printing cash out of thin air. You can't counterfeit Bitcoin. You can't, make some kind of compound interest loan on Bitcoin that's going to grow out of nothing. So it goes against what they stand for. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the stock market has tried to roll over and die like every 5 to 10 years since it's sort of started to become a reality, because every time it tries to die, they just print dollars and like put life back into it. It's like COVID. It should have continued to tank. Everyone was feeling the financial pressures. It should have just died. Instead, it's just like, I'm back, baby. And it's like, it's not your own doing. Like, it's not retail. Like, this is just printed dollars. And it's just crazy, because you can't do that with Bitcoin. Like, if you can't produce real value and proof of work, then Bitcoin would just be dead. Like, it would be a network that has 5 users or 10 users, but it's so organic. It doesn't need an advertisement team. It doesn't need the news pumping it. It doesn't need Trump. It doesn't need Putin. It doesn't need anyone. And it just grows, because people, as soon as it's discovered, it's more of a discovery than an invention. When it is discovered like fire, every person will want its warmth. Like, every person will want to just come to it, because they realize it's basically money with a limited supply, and it has no borders. It is divisible. It is scarce. It is superior in all aspects. So obviously it's just a matter of time, but like a $2 trillion market cap, 4% global adoption, that's done in 16 years. So it's outperforming everything. So when does the train stop? I don't know. But at this point, until history changes with its price and its moves, it's taking over the world. So unless something breaks that absolute momentum, like it's just a matter of time at this point. But it's happening pretty quick. And I think there's sort of a mentality now, if you can't beat it, join it, because BlackRock, which I would say is one of the most evil companies ever because they essentially own the world. Like they literally own like some crazy percentage of Australia. And it's like, why are you in Australia? It's like, what? They literally own percentages of countries. It's like, that's a bit of a gray area, but they just go, we really can't stop this thing. Like it's going to eat into every asset we have backed for our ETFs. Like we might be cooked here. So they've just gone, all right, we'll just start buying it and we'll package it up like we discovered it too. But I reckon they knew about it for ages and they knew it was a threat. And as soon as it got too big as a threat, they were like, let's just join up. So I don't think Larry thinks that dumb that he never heard of it and all of a sudden let's do it. I think it was just a matter of being like, we really can't stop this thing. We might as well get the fruits of its labor and try and jump on the piggyback, because anyone that plugs in, anyone that joins benefits. And same with like Michael Saylor. He was, I think, being a publicly traded company is the perfect example of taking advantage of the fiat system. Take extremely high loans and leverage with extremely low interest rates because you could back your company up as equity. And so he took advantage of the fiat system till now, and then he's now doing that with Bitcoin because he knows there's a cheeky little loophole. Borrow the dollars that become worth less to buy the dollars that are worth more. So he's doing it. Publicly traded companies are now up to 100 plus companies now, which is insane because only 4 or 5 years ago, it was just him. Then you've got Trump comes in. All right, I can't beat it. Let's join it. We're holding 200,000. I'm not going to just go sell them because I think if Kamala was in, they probably would have already been sold. They would have pulled a Germany on us. But Trump comes in and goes, hey, maybe we'll actually start buying this thing. Like that's pretty profound, isn't it? Like the person that wants the US dollar the strongest and to continue to be the global reserve currency potentially is accepting the fact that Bitcoin's beating the US dollar, because maybe even he understands ever since the Federal Reserve, it's lost 99% of its value. Maybe
I'm sure he does.
And I just think that maybe he's going, maybe there is something special in some sense and I just have to let go, because otherwise another country will beat me to it and they will become the superpower of the world. So I think they're all thinking that. I think Putin's probably thinking, because like Russia was huge for manufacturing, but mining Bitcoin. And I'm not sure what happened there, but I remember watching documentaries on their mining facilities probably five years ago. And that will all not only come back, but just go to the next level. Like China will ban Bitcoin for the citizens, but they're also one of the biggest mining countries. And so it's like, China doesn't care about their citizens whatsoever. It's like, they're just at this point wage slaves. But it's just inevitable at this point. I think they're all just accepting it, can't beat it, join it. And like, how fast does that ramp up once they accept that?
Well, yeah, exactly. This is that whole game theory thing where it's like, if you can't stop something, if you see a threat, then you have to jump on board. And then it's like, well, who's going to be the last to jump on board? Because I remember I was reading this book, and I can't remember what book it was now, but they were talking about when the digital camera came in. You had a company like Kodak they were print film for like 100 years plus. They were the dominators of the camera industry. And then when digital came on, they were like, no, we're not going to get on board with this. No, because selfishly their business was selling film, so they held out for as long as possible. And then eventually they saw that, oh, this is just the thing now, because printing photos has become more of a decentralized thing. Everybody can do it from home. We can't stop this. Everybody's doing it. It's cheaper, it's faster, it's quicker. Okay, we'll now get onto digital cameras. But they were so late to it because they held on to this, idea that they wanted to be, the dominators of the camera film industry, that it ended up shooting them in the foot, and they fell behind. And there was another example where when like music streaming first came on with Spotify and stuff, I remember Pink Floyd were like super adamant that they were like, no, we're never doing streaming. Forget that. If you want to listen to our music, you've got to buy the CD, you've got to buy the vinyl. We're never doing it. And then they weren't on Spotify for like years and years and years. And they were one of the only bands that wasn't on Spotify. And then eventually they were like, okay, we're going to go on Spotify because this is it, you know. But they'd lost like an entire generation's worth of, you know, of listeners there because they didn't adopt the new tech that was taking over. So it's this, I think, is the epitome of when people say, you know, everybody gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve. It's like you're gonna have to get it at some point. If you were lucky enough and you had enough, you know, advanced knowledge to buy it at £5 and you kept it because you knew what it was, well, good for you. You deserve that price. If you know, bought it at 50,000, good for you. You deserve it. Some people are going to get it at 1 million and they're going to have no choice. And that's that, you know. So I completely agree with it. And this is why I still think we're early. I thought I was late because, you know, I saw the price go up to like about, I think it peaked last year at like £70,000. I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? What is this thing? Like I've missed the boat. And whenever I talk to any of my mates that are not into it, they always say, oh, it's a bit late, isn't it? Like, isn't it like 100,000 quid? And I think there's this misconception that you just need to buy one and that's it. That you have to invest, you know, you have to buy one coin because they don't know much about it. But if you understand what it actually is, that it's this, you know, completely finite, decentralized, secure, as you were saying earlier, it's perfectly portable, divisible, recognizable, durable, etc., then you know that it ain't just going to stop at 100,000. It's not like a stock that, oh yeah, this is going to go down and blah blah blah. If it just keeps eating away at the entire, you know, market, then that market cap is going to go 10x, 20x, as you said. So we are still early. I still think we're way early, which is why I've got this bit of a what's the word? A bit of a, well, like I can't think of the word, but I've got a bit of a rocket up my bum to like let's stack as much as I possibly.
Yeah,
I've got the urgency. That's the word. Yeah, thanks. Because I'm thinking, okay, I think we are still early. We're super early, as you said, 3 or 4% global adoption rate, and the internet now is at 66%. So we're still early, and the average Joe on the street doesn't even know about it. But at the same time, people are starting to clock on, as you said. BlackRock's clocking on, Trump, governments, etc. It's only a matter of time before all these billionaires just start buying it all up, and then it may be too late. So
yeah, I think you start talking too late when it's like you literally can't trade your fiat for Bitcoin. Like that's too late for me because then you have to give up everything you ever wanted to get it. Right now, all I have to trade is a little bit of my pay slip. It's no skin off my back. I still pay the rent. I still pay the groceries. Life goes on. But I'm building my savings account that's growing 40, 50% a year. So yeah, similar thing for me. Like in, I think 2021, I watched Bitcoin run up and I didn't have any. And over here, it reached 100,000 and then dropped all the way down to 25,000. And I remember having $20,000 in cash. Like I dropped out of school and I started working early. So I had this $20,000 and I remember going, this Bitcoin, I watched it at 100 grand. It's 25,000. I have 20,000, you know, I could basically get nearly a Bitcoin. And I remember going, nah, stuff that. And then I went 4 years of buying cryptos and buying other things because that unit bias. I was like, I can get so many XRPs right now. I can get so many dog with hats right now. You know, dog with hats only 0.0001 cent. It's like, bro, what? Like, how is that? How does that trick our brains thinking we need a full thing of something? So everything else looks more appealing. And then it was just a major shift. Like I'd say similar time frame to you, like a year and a half, where I went, the green light came on and I was like, sheesh, I've been gambling and wasting my life the last 4 years thinking that I could turn 10 grand into 100 grand and 100 grand into this. And it's like, I was doing it for 4 years straight, trying to accumulate dog with hat in a bear market, and it's still bleeding. It's still bleeding out. And I'm like, I don't even care if there is some sort of altcoin season anymore. I don't want anything to do with it. It's just completely just wrecked me for the last 4 years. Like I'm done. Fully done. Moved to Bitcoin only, and I understand I don't have to be rich tomorrow. There's no get rich quick scheme in life. Like, what's the point of a shortcut? Like, that doesn't sound like, a fulfilled life. I think it's about trying to build long term value, long term, like, savings and planning for the future. But also, this thing moves quick. Like, maybe I'm 21 now. Maybe when I'm 30, I suddenly have XYZ in Bitcoin, and maybe I'm not retired, but maybe I can choose my career. Maybe I can have all these opportunities I never thought I could have. So I'm excited for the future all of a sudden. Like, I went from being pretty bleak like you, being like, this is cooked, bro. Everyone's telling me how expensive life is. I'm never going to move out. Now, all of a sudden, I'm 21. I got married. So I got married, moved out, and I'm just like, this is it, boys, because Bitcoin's just helping me. Like, and it's just like, that's so cool. Like, that's what young people should be able to do right now. But instead, it's like, nah, I'm staying at my parents' till whatever. And it's because life is too expensive. You know what? I'm never getting married. It's too much pressure. You know what? I'm never having kids. They're such a financial burden. It's like, they've broken the dollars so much to the point that no one looks forward to the future. No one wants to start a family. No one wants to do what they actually want to do. They just want to work a 9 to 5 and just sit there and just rot away. It's like, that is not the culture we should have. Like, whatever happened to, young men just want to go out and take over the world, like build a bloody empire. Like, bro, we're all such pansies now. It's like, we go back not that long ago, not only were we warriors and things, but we were building things. Like, we were expanding kingdoms and building cities and everything. And it's like, now we're all just in this like zombie state, being like, give me my paycheck. And then it's like, it doesn't go as far as it did last week. So we're just bleeding out. And it's like, this is not,
I mean,
this is cooked.
I think people. I don't think people necessarily want to be in that situation, but I don't think many people can get out of it. Like, I remember my granddad. He had a job. He just worked in a power station, and then with that single full time job, he managed to have wife, kids, quite comfortably, build his own house, that kind of thing. And then my parents both needed full time jobs, and now the younger generation, like the millennials and the Gen Zs, you could have a couple who are completely working full time and doing side hustles and still can't make ends meet, and they're stressing themselves out, and they're like, if we stop working for 1 month, that's it. Like, we can't pay the bills. Like, it's almost like, gone from treading water to just like fully submerged under this debt that everybody's, stuck in. And it is a direct byproduct of this inflation scam. I was reading this book called Usury in Christendom, and it talks about England. It's like the history of usury in England, and it talks about a medieval peasant in the 13th and 14th century England would work. This is before the debt system came in England. Would work for 14 weeks a year on average, and he would earn enough in that 14 weeks to do whatever he wanted for the rest of the year. He would have families, and this is the kind of, like you were saying, when did men just go and like build empires? It's like, well, if you lived in a system that wasn't based on complete debt, then you could work 14 weeks a year, and you'd have the rest of the year to go and build a house, build a family, build a farm, build an empire, build these insane like churches and whatnot that we see from that period, because you could do it then. Whereas now, as you said, people are just like zombies because they're having to work 50, 60 hours a week, both of them. They don't want to have kids because they can't even have 5 minutes to themselves because they're having to work all the time. I mean, it's such a sick system. It's literally sick. It's like anti-human, dehumanizing, demoralizing, sick system. So buy Bitcoin immediately and exit. There we go.
What are your thoughts on like Bitcoin's deeper than that? Because I don't necessarily use the term spiritual because like I'm a Christian myself. Like, I'm not going to say Satoshi's my Jesus. It's like I'm not at that stage, and I never will be, because to me it's just technology and money. But I think there's also a deeper layer when you expose the fiat system. I think you start realizing, what the hell are they feeding us? Like, this is just making me so sick. And then I have to go to, big pharma and go, please give me these pills. And they're like, oh, you're 21, you have slight anxiety. Here's these antidepressants. And then I'm hooked on antidepressants till I'm 60 and I have zero emotion and I'm just a mindless zombie. It's like so sad, man. Like, when did we get to the point where, a little boy wants to run around at school and people just go, you know what? He's got ADHD. He's got this. He's got that. He can't sit still. It's like, he's not meant to sit in a classroom for 6 hours a day, bro. Like, go let him play outside. Like, I think that's the unfortunate symptoms of things like this, where it's just like control, control, control. And it's just like, keep both parents, at work. So then the kid has to go to daycare, has to go to school, has to do this. They can't do all these other things. And it's just like, man, like, people always ask me, what do I want to do? And it's like, one of my biggest goals is just to have my wife at home, like, for majority of her life, because she wants that. She wants to be a stay-at-home mum. And it's like, if I can do that and then also do something that I don't hate, and it's not 9 to 5 for 5 days, it's just 3 days or 4 days a week, and the rest I get to spend with my wife and my kids, I'm happy. That's all. I just need that. That's my minimum. I'm not taking anything less, because I see these people, dads that are getting home at 6 or 7 p.m. The kids are already in bed. Wife was working as well. They're grumpy. They just want to go to sleep. Bro, that's not what I want to do. Like, and so I think this is where Bitcoin comes into play for me. It builds up my savings, builds up my purchasing power. And, like, my goal is to sort of have those things by the time I'm 30. And it's like, I'm not going to wait around till I'm 30 to start putting things into action. I'm just going to do it now. Like, I have literally nothing to lose. Like, and people always like, what if you woke up tomorrow and your Bitcoin was gone? It's like, my life would be the exact same. And I'd realize, okay, Bitcoin didn't work. What's another store of value? Like, it's taught me enough now to just go build an empire and start doing stuff, because I've realized there's a broken system. And once you realize there's a problem, you start figuring out solutions. So, like, it literally does not stress me. If Bitcoin fully fails tomorrow and I'm set on zero, what happens? I get my pay slip, I pay my rent, I pay my groceries, and I build back up from zero. It's like, so it's either absolute generational wealth when it works out, or I just join the fiat system like everyone else. Like, I'll probably end up with a house and kids and wife and be absolutely financially struggling for the rest of my life if Bitcoin goes to zero. But that's no different to not giving it a go. So why would I not chuck it all on the line and just go for it? Because there's such chance for abundance here and a better system. And it's had 16 years straight where it's outperformed everything, but also proven itself to be secure. It's never been hacked. It's been extremely successful. It's predictable money. It has a limited supply. And so I just don't get this whole, he's so risky. He's risking everything. And it's like, what do you mean? Like, what are you guys doing? Because, I talk to these guys that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and they're talking to me about what their savings looks like. And I'm just thinking, I can imagine a day where I catch you pretty quick. And that's not me being cocky. And I wouldn't say that to them. Like, I'm very nice. I'm trying to orange pill them as well. It's like, I will catch you and all I'm doing is nothing special. I'm just saving in Bitcoin. Like, I'm not trading. I'm not, and I'm not even at the point of, well, I do sort of want to do side hustles and things, but it's not like I'm going all in with my time. I'm just going all in with my money at the moment. And then when I can, I'll, ramp up the side hustles like you, because that's just beast mode. It's like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, maybe also go into your side hustle you mentioned, because I think that's really cool. But do you think, like, there's a chance here for young people to really just stand up and go, you know what, we're going into a different system. Like, do you agree with that? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
There's a lot to respond to there. We could have gone into that whole spiritual thing, which I'd like to touch on as well, because I do think there is a spiritual aspect to this as well. And I agree with the whole, it's like when this one, for example, Bitcoin Standard, people, say, oh, it's the Bible, and there's, there was the Immaculate Concept. I always have a bit like, let's not use that kind of terminology, because then it turns a little bit religious. It's not religion. This is, it's completely different. Then it gets a little bit weird, I find. But for the side hustle, what did you say about the side hustle? Sorry.
Maybe just go into like what your side hustle looks like, why you're doing it, like what's the motivation and things, because I think it's awesome. Like it's something I would want to do too.
To be fair, at the minute, my side hustle is I basically do Uber Eats deliveries, and I've got the day job, and the day job basically takes care of. I don't earn massive amounts, but it takes care of the bills, takes care of everything. And then I'm doing the Uber Eats deliveries on the side as well. Now my goal is basically to earn an extra £100 a week doing Uber Eats deliveries, which worked out. I did work it out, £400 a month, which is about £5,000 a year if I do it consistently. Now I did figure that out. There was about, it's gone up now, but it was almost zero point 0.1 Bitcoin just from that side hustle if I was consistent with it. And my goal for this year was to get to zero point 0.1. So I was thinking, well, if I just do the side hustle and I'm saving a little bit of cash as well from the day job, and I'm, not having the Starbucks and not having the booze and whatnot. And then if it does dip, I've got a little bit of pocket where I can just make a few smash buys here and there. But whilst I'm doing the side hustle on top and selling a few bits and bobs here as well, I don't really care what the price is. I'm just going to keep chipping away. Now, the side hustle, the Uber Eats, it's not the most glamorous job, and it's not the most well-paid job either. But I'm actually quite enjoying it, to be fair. Like, I just cruise around the town, go around. I've got a podcast on in the car. I've got some music on in the car, go to KFC, pick up a KFC, drive it down the road, boom. I'll just go out for like 2 or 3 hours, on a night when I'm not doing anything else or on board or whatever. And I'll just go and deliver food. And at the end of the night, whatever I earn, I cash out instantly. And then I send that directly into my Strike account and then buy Bitcoin instantly. And that's it. So I know for a fact that I'm working for sats just doing the side hustle, because every penny that I do is instantly bought Bitcoin. So for me, I'm motivated to do it, even though it can be a bit boring, a bit tiring, but I do kind of enjoy it as well. But that's my best side hustle idea for now. Until I come up with a better one, I'm just going to continue with that. But for a better one, I don't know yet. We'll see. I've got a few different ideas, but it seems to be a good one. And I film it as well and just go around and just see what weird and wonderful people I bump into. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying saving. I'm enjoying the actual work itself, and I'm enjoying that I end up with Bitcoin, because we just hit all-time high. So everything I've earned so far has gone up in value, which the same can't be said for my actual day job that I get paid in fiat with. So it's a win-win, really.
Yeah, no, I love, the side hustle idea is just so cool. I also think like just consider like your YouTube channel as a side hustle as well, because it will continue to grow like rapidly. Like it's insane that you're at 4,000 subscribers. Like I'd say Bitcoin is this niche at the moment, but as all-time highs hit and things, more and more people come into the space and they'll be interested in your channel. And all of a sudden you might have a video that does 30,000, 40,000 views. And I'm not saying that your channel was ever meant for that. I just think all of a sudden it's hit the ground running and starts going pretty well. But you should consider putting a little QR code for your Lightning address on Strike, just in the corner of your videos, because what I've seen is a lot of people just go, you know what, I really support this guy's journey. I'm going to fund him in some sense. Here's $10 worth of Bitcoin. And suddenly that's just a little zapping along. But for me, what I've noticed is like, I'm not after donations or anything. Like I sort of stopped putting the QR codes. But if I was going to do, say, a live stream, people can do a value for value. So shout out to my boy, Jerry Loves Freedom, but he does a show every single day and people just join in, entertain, chat, because it's all like-minded people. He gets about 30 to 40 constant viewers every day. He does like a Satoshi wheel. So it's like a giveaway. Everyone gets their name on it. And he's like, all right, let's spin for some Satoshis. And then he sends them Satoshis. And it's like, it might be 100 Satoshis or 1,000 Satoshis, but he's built this little community where we're all friends and talking and we're in group chats and they're all like-minded. But people constantly will just send him, hey, here's 10,000 Satoshis, here's 20,000 Satoshis. Like, really appreciate the live today. I needed this today, not only for entertainment, but I've learnt something. Like, he will play videos and do a bit of educating as well. and we'll bring in people to the new space, and it's like they'll ask questions like, "What is Bitcoin?" And then everyone in the group chat, like it's and that's something that you can also consider like as a side hustle, not because it's like, please donate me. Like he never says send me satoshis. It's like if you get value out of this, you know, if you want to send some satoshis, here's my lightning address. And some people send one sat, and he reacts the exact same to one sat to 100,000 sats because he knows what they're worth. So I like, for me, that's also like a little goal for mine. Like if I can get a little bit of traction on the channel, it's just this little thing where it's like, oh, that might be an extra $100 a month or $50 a month, whatever it ends up being. But I love that as a Bitcoiner, you suddenly want to build layers and decentralize your payslip because you don't want to just be so reliant on a centralized system. Like I don't want to rely on just my payslip every week, because what if the boss decides, well, lucky for me, it's my dad, but you know, what if the boss decides, get stuff, see you later, I'm cooked. So
Well, with the YouTube, it has actually just got monetized as well. So I'm being quite transparent with the earnings as well. Don't know if you've seen any of the update videos, but I'll basically go. I'll be like, right, week one, I earned this on Uber, I sold this, and the one I just put up yesterday was the first month where I actually got a little bit of YouTube cash, and I'm not seeing it as a side hustle. I'm seeing the YouTube as more of a creative hobby. Like I'm really enjoying like just doing the videos, editing the videos, doing the theme tunes, and doing all the music for the video. So for me, it's like a creative. It's a bit of fun, really. But all of the money that is being made, I'm putting out back into the Bitcoin fund. So yeah, it does. And I do actually have a Lightning wallet, but I don't have the QR code. But there's one buried in the description, and people have been sending sats and just being like, I'm doing this as well. I'm trying to get to 1 Bitcoin as well. Let's go kind of thing. So yeah, there seems to be a real kind of community vibe around the whole thing. And there's definitely more than just me and you that are trying to stack as much as we can. There's definitely a lot of people somewhere, maybe not on the street. I haven't bumped into anybody on the street that's stacking, but they're somewhere, because I know for a fact there's multiple people that are just normal dudes and girls and whatnot that are also trying to get to 1 Bitcoin. They're out there somewhere.
yeah, no, they are. I love even what you're talking about, selling things for Bitcoin, because now how I see it is like, it doesn't matter how much you sell it for, and you can go, I bought it for this $1,000 and I can only sell it for $200. And it's like, bro, you've been using it for the last 15 years, no wonder. But it's kind of like you give it a second life, and I love that because it's like it's restoring its value to what it used to be. So like an example would be is I got my dad into Bitcoin. And so when I saw him do this, I was just thinking, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is what you got to do. So he bought a KTM motorbike probably like, let's just say 10 years ago, but some range. And at the time, he would have bought it for probably 12,000 Australian dollars. Anyway, and time goes on, that bike is significantly worth less. Newer models come out, it's deteriorated, all this. And 12,000 at the time when he'd bought it would be probably like today's 15,000 or whatever the conversion rate with inflation goes. But then he only sells it for 6,000 cash. And it's like, everyone would be like, bro, remember when you bought it? It's just worth nothing now. Like you've lost, well, to me, it was actually kept quite a bit of its value. But dad puts the 6,000 into Bitcoin straight up. And I'm just thinking, what an absolute bowler, because now that 6,000 will not only appreciate 10%, 20%, but if he holds that percentage of Bitcoin, say for 5 years, 10 years, suddenly that motorbike that was worth essentially trending to zero has now had a second life in value. It's no longer a liability, but almost like this appreciating asset. And so that bike is not worth 6,000 to sell. It might be worth 20,000 or 30,000 with Bitcoin's price appreciation. So like, I love that because it goes from being like, there's no point selling it, I'll get nothing for it, I'll get a couple $100. It's like, bro, you can't treat it like that. You got to treat, if you can get rid of it and it's at no use to you and it's just sitting there rotting away, there's actually
get rid of it.
There's a second life opportunity. Like even for me, I'm trying to turn things, into sort of, a second life. So I bought a really, really nice snowboard, a few years ago. And then recently I was wanting to do trips and things, but I did my ACL. So I fully ruptured my ACL. And I'm just going realistically, like we're in our snow season now. So if we wanted to go to the snow, this is the time. Realistically, I'm not going this season. I'm probably not going next season if I end up with getting surgery. So I'm not going for at least 2 years. So the snowboard's sitting here. New snowboards come out every year because they're all like limited edition and stuff. So mine was like this limited edition one. I'm going stuff it. I'm just going to sell it. And once I fully recovered, if I still want to snowboard, because I don't think buying Bitcoin means you have to put off every hobby you ever wanted to do, I'll just buy new. Like I'll just buy new because by then this money I sell for it will allow me to either buy new and probably keep Bitcoin on the side too. Or if I really don't want to go anymore, I'll just keep Bitcoin. So I bought it for $950 2 years ago. I've used it probably 5 or 6 times, got some good trips out of it, and I sold it for $750. And so it's like, everyone's like, you lost $200 worth of fiat. And I'm thinking, bro, that is awesome. Like I've kept that much value out of it in fiat terms, but what it's going to turn into is crazy. And even things like down to my car, it's like, I realized my car was having a few problems. This is the one that I ended up buying with the cash, years ago, which I should have bought Bitcoin. And I knew there was going to be some problems. The fuel injectors were going to go, and because it's getting older. And I went, let's just sell it now before it blows up on me. And I'll put a little bit in Bitcoin, a little bit in savings because me and my wife want to go to Europe. And it's like, that is so cool because suddenly, people go, the market's terrible right now. Don't sell, don't sell. Like you bought it for this and now it's only worth this. And I'm just thinking, don't see it like that. If I'm trading a significant part of it into Bitcoin, it's not 10 grand or 15 grand. I'm potentially playing with 150 grand here if Bitcoin continues to go to a 10x. And so I just love that whole aspect of sell the crap around your house.
I mean, I think if you become orange pilled, you start seeing everything valued against Bitcoin anyway. Like, have you ever seen that film They Live with the guy with the glasses?
Yeah, I actually
he puts
have.
his glasses on and he sees through all of these things and he sees it for what they really are. Like when you get orange pilled, you get these glasses. You see the Starbucks coffee, which is £6. You're thinking, I could have £6 of Bitcoin with that instead. You go to the pub and the beer's like $5, and you're like, I could have £5 Bitcoin instead. I could literally buy £5 worth of sats right now instead of that beer. Right, well, I'm not gonna have that then because Bitcoin is way better. And then what I did and what I've been doing as well, I'm pretty much bare bones now to a certain extent, but looking around my house and being like, right, I've got this old dusty guitar that I had when I was like 14. That's a couple of £100, and that's just been sat there for about 10 years. I would rather have that money in Bitcoin because even if I wanted to buy it back in 5 years, the money's not gone anywhere. I've not bought some other like piece of crap for it. I've held it in the best, asset imaginable. So it probably would have gone up in price. So I could buy two. So as you were saying, you can have hobbies, but I'm looking around, I'm thinking, right, I'm not using this, I'm not using this, I'm not using this. I mean, I became a bit of a joke the other day because I ended up selling my chair for Bitcoin. And it was an old chair that I had. This was in the last video as well. And it was like half broken and I couldn't actually sit on it because it didn't recline, like one of the things would bust. But I've had it for like 15 years. And I just, like, my dog used to just kind of like sleep on it, or like I just use it as a footstool, but it was taking up so much space. I was like, I could get like £5 for this, So I put it on Facebook Marketplace, £5. Some guy picked it up from a house. I said, look, it's half broken, but he was buzzing with it for £5. So I got the space back of this broken old chair, and then I instantly bought £5 worth of, Bitcoin. But some people might say, well, what's the point of that? But it's those little things that counts, I think. And I've got a lot more space now because I got rid of that dusty old chair that I wouldn't have otherwise. So yeah, it's a win-win. The orange pill eyes work.
Yeah, everything I see is price in Satoshis now. I'm like, what's going on? Because my brain's just doing the constant conversion rates of being like, how many Satoshis are... Wait, that's 1 million Satoshis? Bro, don't buy that. Like, that's 1 million Satoshis. Buy Bitcoin. It's just crazy because like no one's on the same page to me, like how extreme I am. Like my dad's actually getting there, which is awesome. Because like, it's so funny how my dad, he's got like his...
My mum's getting there as well, to be fair.
Yeah, it's good. I love that. I think family's so important to try an orange pill because you want to protect them and look after them in some sense. Anyway, and so, dad's got this retirement fund that's sitting there and he sees this big glorious number, but it's also like he can't get to it for another like 7 or 8 years. And then it's like, and then he's got his Bitcoin and it's appreciating over time. And I'm like, at what stage, Dad, does your Bitcoin become worth more than your retirement, and you've literally been working for that for 40 whatever years. So it's just funny because like it's crazy how quick things move, but also like when you see things priced in satoshis, it really changes your spending habits. Like even for me,
Yeah.
I used to be one of those guys that's like, you know, designer brand clothes. Like I buy this hoodie that's $100, and it's like now I'm going to like what we call Kmart, and it's like we go to Kmart and it's like $10, $20 a hoodie, and it's like even though I know the quality is not as good and doesn't have the brands, I'm just thinking I've just saved $80 that I would have spent in the past. I still need this hoodie. I still need these clothes for church and things, and it's like I can just do it way cheaper because I don't have to spend all my fiat. I'm thinking about the bigger picture of trying to save. Even things like a cool strategy that you should consider, because so you're using Strike, like Jack Muller's Strike, right?
Yes.
So I don't know if you guys have the pay with Lightning feature or shop with Lightning.
No, not yet. It's not in the UK yet.
So that's only really just come to Australia. But what I do is, say I need to buy something from Amazon, like I always buy, you know, this is where I get technology and stuff for the show. And instead of just buying it on the spot with my fiat dollar or my debit card, my credit card, whatever, I'll put the money away in Bitcoin, let it appreciate over time. And then as it's, say, done a 10%, 20%, whatever the numbers, it doesn't even need to be significant, especially when you're buying little things. But I then use Strike to buy an Amazon gift card out of my Bitcoin, which is the dollars I was going to use. And then that product is significantly cheaper for me because I've set aside the money for it that I was going to just use on the spot with fiat. And so then I just receive a little digital gift card and I use that to pay for my Amazon stuff. And it just has worked so good for me to help my spending because like,
Interesting.
Like this phone here, I needed a new iPhone, and like my phone I was holding on as long as possible. Now being a Bitcoin, I'm like, the battery doesn't work or anything. I bought a little cheap battery pack. I'm just at work looking like an absolute darrow. And then I was like, stuff this.
Desmond.
Yeah, I need Desmond. I need a new phone. And so then I was like, all right, I've set aside this Bitcoin. It literally had appreciated 50% by the time I decided to get the phone. Like I was holding off as long as possible. So in my head, I basically went from getting the phone for $1,000 in fiat terms to now 500 because that's how much I've put into it. It's like, bro, when you get to that mentality, like it's so much easier to stack because you start getting every little thing counts. The £5, like that counts. And so, yeah, it's just so cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
One good thing about Strike that I like is that you can set it to auto buy Bitcoin. So it sets up a bank account for you, and then you can effectively get paid into your Strike account and it will instantly convert it into Bitcoin. So you could get your paycheck paid into Strike. And even though you're not getting paid in Bitcoin, you're getting paid in fiat, as soon as it hits your account, it automatically converts and saves in Bitcoin. So as you were saying, if you just have your monthly wage appreciating for even 30 days, you're gonna be better off. You're gonna benefit. So yeah, I don't think that's available in the UK yet, the Lightning app, but when it is, I'll have a look into it.
I'm thinking about doing a similar thing where I get paid into my Strike account here. And I would need some of those funds to just pay rent and help out like with groceries and whatever. You know, me and my wife sort of just use everything together, joint bank account, which is good because I've managed to convince her we're going all in on Bitcoin. And sort of how I see it is like, if I can get majority of my pay slip paid into Strike, it will reduce how much I'm spending because I'll see it in Bitcoin and go, I really have to give up this many Satoshis. Whereas right now when it's going into my normal bank account, I might only put $100 into Bitcoin or $200 into Bitcoin, like a small percentage. But I think that I need the other 800. And then it's like, I actually don't. Like, why am I spending that much? Like my spending habits have gotten better, but they could be better. And imagine having to give up 10,000 Satoshis for a flipping chocolate bar. Like that's how expensive it's getting now. And it's like, that would hurt a lot more than giving up. For me, it'd be $18 or whatever it ends up being. Okay, we don't have $18 chocolate bars, but like $10. And so I'm thinking I might do that, get paid into my Strike. And then if I really need it, it's not hard to just swap back to Aussie dollars or USDT and use that. So there's all these things that are getting like, I'm still pretty new to all doing the conversions.
Well, me too.
But yeah, like it's just, we will then figure out a pretty good system where we basically live off Bitcoin. Like I'm trying to live on a Bitcoin standard now. there's not all the supporting rails for it, but it's getting there. And I found like the thing that I told you about Amazon, like that's just a little strategy I got going on, and it actually like works. Like for me, like it makes things just significantly cheaper. Like even, we want to save up to do a Europe trip. I said, we're not saving $20,000, right? Like for the next year to go to Europe. We're saving it all in Bitcoin and then just selling a very small percentage of Bitcoin to go, because that's how I don't want to say, I can't picture myself holding $20,000 of fiat for 12 months. I'm just there going melting ice cube, while I see Bitcoin just like, see you later. So
yeah, it's wise.
I have to just try and like, I'm doing my best like to meet in the middle with my wife, because she's not fully there yet with where I'm at. But I'm not holding huge savings anymore. Like I get like almost a sick feeling when I see thousands of dollars in the bank. I'm just thinking it needs to be in Bitcoin. Like I can't handle this anymore. Like I literally get that feeling, but it's good because I'm just treating Bitcoin as my savings account. And then anytime that it's in my
me
bank,
too.
it's my spending. Like my spending is fiat because I just want to get rid of my fiat. But I try and save as much of it, go bare minimum with my fiat, and then have as much in Bitcoin as possible.
It's funny that, isn't it? The differences between like the motivations behind holding fiat. Like as you say, for a fact that the longer you hold it, it's gonna be worth less. So you're motivated to just get rid of it and spend it and spend it and spend it. But then with Bitcoin, you know that it's gonna be worth more and it's deflationary. So you're motivated to save it and hold it. It's crazy, like how opposite that is. But I guess like the entire fiat economy is based on, they want more people to just keep spending, keep buying all this crap, keep the economy moving. It's the complete polar opposite, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they've built a system where like they want people to take out loans, they want people to take credit, they just want to live off, because they know it's just printed dollars, so it doesn't really matter. Like just give the dog a bone and they'll stay distracted.
Yeah.
And I just think it's so sad because like there's so many young people now going into their 20s, going into their 30s, and they literally have like tens of thousands of dollars of debt. Maybe it's not just from university or college, but it's like it's literally because they've gone out personally and gone, I want to steal from the future and bring it forward because I might as well enjoy my future fruits of my labor now, because I'd rather just consume. And it's like you're setting yourself up for a long-term fail, because you'll get to the future and go, I have nothing to my name. I have no capital or store of value. I'm back to square one. Like I basically have the same savings from when I was 20. And it's like, that's just so sad. Like I never want to get to those ages, especially like getting to 40s and 50s where it's like, I haven't progressed since I was 20 and 40 years has disappeared. Like it's like, man, you should have a long-term view, because it matters. Like you really don't want to get to those ages like my dad and being like, what do I have to show for my legacy? It's like, do you want your legacy in Bitcoin or fiat? Because there's completely two different ones. You either have absolutely nothing or you have everything. So there's not really a middle line when it comes to this. I think there's no point.
No, there's not.
That like you will start, if you haven't, like if you're watching this now and you don't have any Bitcoin, you first get to 0.01. That should be your goal. So just hustle. And I think in that hustle, you'll start to learn what Bitcoin is, and you'll want to get to 0.1 because you'll understand what you're holding. And then all of a sudden you'll be like, TC going, let's get to 1 Bitcoin, because you understand if you could get to 1 Bitcoin, holy moly, like it's literally, that's generational wealth. Like, so we'll start to wrap it up there. But just before we leave, I wanted to ask you what's some advice for young people in their 20s and then going into their 30s? Like, how do you sort of orange pill people around your age?
A couple of things. I would say you need to start reading books. I've been deep into the books recently, and sorry, I'm just writing notes there because I forget what I'm talking about. But I've learned more from reading books than I have watching YouTube videos, podcasts, that kind of thing. Just because I find that you have to really sit and absorb it, and you can't skip out on it at all. And I find that reading books is it highlights your own weaknesses basically. Like for example, I was on a smartphone for ages, and I was just like scrolling Instagram reels and all that kind of crap. And then I literally found that the more I did that, the less I could focus on reading, to the point where I couldn't even read. Basically, I just couldn't even read a page without thinking, oh, well, let me go and check this phone or whatever, or so it highlighted my own weakness for that. So then my habits became better. So then I've restricted my phone, and even for like about a year or two, I went back down onto a Nokia phone without any internet whatsoever, and I instantly found myself hyper focused, able to read and burn through books. And I think that my biggest learning curve has just been absorbing as many books as I possibly can. You can't beat them. So if anybody wants to learn about Bitcoin, I would say you got to read this book, then read this book, and then read this book. I'm very much a book recommendation person. But in terms of orange pilling the younger generations, well, I would probably highlight what the problem is before offering them the solution, which is Bitcoin, because I don't think you can understand the beauty of Bitcoin unless you understand what it's a solution for. So I would probably I mean, no doubt they're going to know that something's not right. They're going to know that, hang on, why are all these prices going up? Why am I still earning the same as last year, and why are the prices going up? Everybody, whether you're a millionaire or, homeless, notices that. They know something is not right. So first of all, I would say, right, this is the issue. It's the central bank money printing, fiat, inflation scam. And I'll try my best to kind of go about that without them getting too like black-pilled, So I would probably first highlight the issue with the fiat system. And I say, look, this is the problem. When they print more money, there's nothing me and you can do about it. We can't vote for them to not vote money. When they do that, your value that you've saved for, you've earned, goes down, and it goes down and down and down. So you've got to find a way to keep working, but holding that value in a better area than that fiat system. And then I would probably break down, okay, well, what constitutes a good currency? Let's look at gold, let's look at fiat, let's look at Bitcoin, compare all these. Okay, well, a level-headed person, you want the best currency, the best store of value for your wealth that you're working for. And then I'd slowly go into Bitcoin that way, and then I'd kind of bring them around that way, I would say. And then I'd say, okay, like you said, let's just put 0.01 in. Let's put £5, £10 a week in, let it sit there, leave it a few months, and then see what happens, and just get them used to the whole tech side of it as well. And then I'll just go about it that way, I think. So it'll be a very gentle thing of, this is the problem, this is the solution, what do you think looks like the best store of value? And then I don't think they can really go wrong. That's what I did to my mum anyway. That's how orange pilled my mum.
Yeah, no, I always start with, okay, your money right now, this is the inflation rate. It's approximately 10%. Bitcoin doesn't have that inflation rate. It's deflationary. Everything gets cheaper around it. And then I just go from that. Anyway, yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I really like that advice to young people. Speaking of books, are there some books you'd like to recommend for young people on this show for them to just start with at least, or and then also just plug your channel and what you're doing as well, just before we head out?
Well, in terms of books, I'm reading Broken Money at the minute by Lynn Alden. It's basically like, it's quite a dense academic text, so it probably wouldn't be like the entry-level book that I'd go in for. And it's quite long, it's probably about 500 pages, but it basically breaks down like the history of currency from the dawn of civilization, what humans have found to be currency from the early kind of like tribes of where they would get like shells and glass and that kind of thing. And then when it went to the gold standard, and then the issues with the gold standard that you couldn't transport the gold. So then they printed paper, and then there became this huge kind of chasm between the actual store of value, which was the gold, and then the transportable paper, or, the centralized bank ledger, which could be transported over the telegraph pole. This is like 150, 200 years ago. And there became this huge chasm between the speed of light centralized bank ledger and the actual weighty gold. And then she goes in to say that now you've got this bearer asset, which is Bitcoin, which has bridged the gap again between those two, because now you can actually send the gold, you can send the bearer asset instantly. So there's no need for this centralized group of people to have this ledger. It's an open ledger, and it avoids the need for them whatsoever. So that was a great book to read. That's a very comprehensive book, Lynn Alden's Broken Money. I've also read The Big Print by Lawrence Lepard. I don't know if you've read that one, but you got that one? It's this very similar book, actually. It goes over, there we go. That is a legendary book. That's highly recommended, I would say. Bitcoin Standard, obviously, but I think that Bitcoin Standard, Broken Money, and Big Print, they're all quite similar, but probably start with the Big Print, and then Broken Money is a bit more dense. But I'm reading a book at the minute by an English guy called Dominic Frisby. Have you heard of him? He wrote a book called Bitcoin in 2014, and even though it's like 10 years old, this book is like super interesting. I tell you what, it's a bit of a palate cleanser from these dense, like, academic financial texts, because it's almost like it reads like a fictional story, but it's not. It's kind of like autobiographical about this guy. And it talks about how he used to buy weed off Silk Road like 15 years ago using Bitcoin, and then kind of got into this like London underground of like cypherpunk scene. And then he goes into like the history of Silk Road, and then like who he thinks Satoshi is, and then like it's almost like a fictional, it reads like a fictional thriller, but it's actually this guy writing about his growing up as an OG in Bitcoin. Super interesting, super easy to read, but you also learn a lot about the tech side of it as well. So I was actually really, really pleased with that book, and it's like 10 plus years old. So yeah, those 4 books will do as book recommendations. That's a good place to start, I think.
I think also chuck, The Price of Tomorrow in there with Jeff Booth, because
I was going to say, yeah, of course.
That's such an easy read. It's a short book. It just explains how we should be in a deflationary system, but rather we're in an inflationary system, how we're not in a free market, things like that. But I'm having Jeff Booth on soon, which will be really cool. I'm looking forward to that.
That's mental.
Yeah, well, you should reach out too, because he would love to speak to you as well, because I think he's one of those guys that's just like, if you can manage to get in contact with him, he's like, yeah, sure, why not? I'm just like, dude, I have 400 subs, bro. Like, that's crazy. Like, he's pretty significant in my mind. Like, it's funny how Bitcoin shifts as well. I couldn't give a stuff about meeting Beyonce or all these people. All I want to do is meet Michael Saylor, Jeff Booth, Jack Mollers, all these people that I want to see. It's just funny because like celebrities in my head just don't exist anymore. But
I mean,
oh, you go.
No, I was just going to say Jeff Booth, like I would read some of his stuff and it would take me literally like 5 times reading it through to be like, oh, I get it now. I think kind of like it's such like high level concepts. Like a lot of it goes over my head. So I'll probably read The Price of Tomorrow in like another 30 years and I'll be like, I still don't get it. Kind of get it.
Yeah, his thinking is just beyond me because like he sees a system that doesn't exist. So it's like he's like a visionary in that sense because I'm just like, how do you picture these things where, you know, prices fall and suddenly people have to like, hey, I actually can't pay you that much anymore. I need to pay you less. And it's like, what? Like that's not the system we're in. It's constantly more prices up. Yeah, just this interview was awesome. I loved having you on. I love following your journey. Other people do too. So where can people find you? Where can people, you know, get in contact with you? And yeah, just plug your channel for now before we wrap up.
I'm on YouTube, The Road to One Bitcoin. I think the handle is The Road to One BTC. I'm at the same place on X, and I've also just started another podcast with a friend of mine called The Hodling Room, which is basically it's a Bitcoin book-centric podcast where we read and discuss Bitcoin books. And we did actually start with the Bitcoin Standard. So each podcast we read a chapter, and as we go, we're discussing the ideas. So we actually just put the first one out tonight. So If you wanted to check that out, it's going to be a continuing thing. That's at the Hodling Room, HODL, Hodling Room, on, well, everywhere actually, Spotify, all those places, YouTube. So yeah, check that out if you're interested in Bitcoin books. And that's that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm definitely subscribing. That sounds awesome. Like a little book club, but online for Bitcoiners. That's
Pretty much
cool.
Bitcoin book club, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on. Really, really appreciate it. And yeah, this has been an awesome conversation. I'm sure so many people will enjoy this and get a lot out of this. So thanks for coming on, and it was nice meeting you.
And you, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Cheers, mate.
Nice one.